The night was heavy with silence until Emma's scream ripped through the apartment, raw with fear and desperation. She clutched her daughter Lily against her chest, her breath ragged, her eyes wide with disbelief at what had just unfolded. Mark, her ex-husband, stood in the doorway, his face a storm of anger and betrayal, words tumbling out in curses that cut deeper than any blade. He shouted, "You'll regret this, Emma, you'll see what I'm capable of," before slamming the door so hard the walls rattled. Sirens wailed faintly in the distance, a haunting reminder that the world outside was no calmer than the storm within. Emma whispered to Lily, "I'll keep you safe no matter what," though her voice trembled, betraying her fear. In that moment, every sacrifice, every lonely night, every ounce of strength she thought she had was tested, and she knew their lives had changed forever. The apartment fell into a suffocating silence, the only sound Emma's unsteady breathing as she pulled Lily closer. The walls felt smaller now, heavy with the echo of Mark's words. Emma forced herself to move, her bare feet dragging across the cold floor as she guided Lily to the couch. Lily whispered, "Mommy, why was Daddy so mad?" And Emma pressed her lips together, unable to answer with truth, only with the soft lie, "It's not your fault." She tucked a blanket around Lily, brushing a strand of hair from her face. The sirens outside faded, leaving only the hollow hum of the refrigerator. Emma looked around the room, the mess, the shadows, the silence, and knew their lives had crossed into dangerous territory. Tonight was only the beginning of a battle she couldn't avoid. Emma sat beside Lily, her gaze fixed on the doorway as though expecting Mark to return. Her thoughts spiraled with guilt and fear, every sacrifice flashing before her eyes. The endless jobs, the nights she stayed awake crying, the lies she told herself just to endure. Lily shifted, her small hand reaching for Emma's, and whispered, "Will you always be here?" Emma swallowed hard, forcing a smile, saying, "Always, baby." But her voice carried the weight of doubt. The hum of the city pressed against the thin windows, a reminder that life outside continued without pause. Inside, time slowed, wrapping them in uncertainty. The night deepened, and Emma paced the room after tucking Lily into bed. Her thoughts wouldn't settle, circling the danger Mark had promised. She replayed every word, every glare, every moment of betrayal. She knew this was no longer about her pain. It was about protecting Lily from what might come. She whispered to herself, "I can't let him win." The air felt heavier with each passing minute, pressing against her chest like an invisible weight. She leaned against the window, watching rain streak across the glass, her reflection fractured by droplets, a mirror of her broken spirit. As the clock neared midnight, Emma sat at the kitchen table, hands clasped, staring at bills scattered before her. Each paper was another weight added to the burden she carried. The silence pressed in, and she could hear the steady breathing of Lily from the bedroom, the only sound that kept her grounded. She thought of the promises she made to her daughter, the vows to provide safety, love, and a future. "I'll find a way," she whispered, though no one could hear. Her heart pounded with fear, but beneath it all burned a spark of resolve. She knew tomorrow would demand more strength than she had left, yet somehow she would rise again. Morning crept in, but Emma's body felt like lead as she prepared Lily for school. Her eyes burned from lack of sleep, yet she forced a smile, saying, "Eat your breakfast, sweetheart." Lily looked up, hesitant, sensing her mother's exhaustion. Emma brushed a hand over her daughter's hair, promising herself she wouldn't let last night's chaos spill into this day. Bills sat stacked on the counter, an unspoken reminder of the life pressing in on her. Outside, the city bustled, indifferent to her turmoil. She carried the weight of survival in her posture, shoulders tense, voice weary. For Emma, each morning wasn't just about routine, it was about creating the illusion of normalcy, shielding her daughter from the cracks widening beneath their lives. Emma hurried Lily out the door, clutching her small backpack with one hand while her phone buzzed in the other. The landlord's voice echoed in her memory, reminding her of overdue rent. Lily asked, "Will you pick me up today?" Emma forced a confident nod, answering, "Of course, I'll be there." The morning air was crisp, city sounds sharp against the silence of her thoughts. She walked Lily to the bus stop, her steps heavy with the knowledge she had to rush to work next. A quiet desperation lingered in her eyes as she watched her daughter climb onto the bus. For Emma, the day ahead was already a battlefield, balancing bills, deadlines, and the looming shadow of Mark's threats. At work, Emma sat at her desk, surrounded by piles of papers and the low hum of office chatter. Her boss's voice cut through the noise, sharp and unforgiving. "We need results, Emma, no excuses." She bit back frustration, nodding quickly, though her mind raced elsewhere. Mark's threats still echoed, and the thought of losing Lily gnawed at her resolve. She typed furiously, fingers shaking, determined to keep her job despite the storm outside her personal life. Yet she felt the walls closing in, the professional mask slipping. Every keystroke was a silent plea for stability, for something to hold on to as her world wavered on the edge of collapse. Lunch hour came, but Emma sat alone on a bench outside, her sandwich untouched. She stared at her phone, the screen lit with an unpaid utility notice. Her best friend, Sarah, appeared beside her, offering a bottle of water. "You look like hell," Sarah said bluntly, her concern hidden beneath sarcasm. Emma let out a tired laugh. "Thanks, I needed that." Sarah's presence was a lifeline, reminding Emma she wasn't completely alone. The weight of trust pressed between them, yet Emma hesitated to reveal the full chaos unraveling in her life. Secrets felt safer than pity. Still, Sarah's steady gaze was enough to give Emma a sliver of strength to push through the afternoon. That evening, Emma picked Lily up from school, her face lighting up despite the exhaustion. Lily ran into her arms, saying, "I missed you, Mommy." Emma kissed her forehead, whispering, "I missed you too." For a moment, the world felt lighter, the shadows of bills and threats fading under the weight of love. Yet as they walked home, Emma's phone buzzed again. A message from Mark. "This isn't over." Her stomach sank, but she tightened her grip on Lily's hand, masking her dread with a steady smile. Home awaited, not with comfort, but with the fragile hope of making it through one more night. Emma returned home late from work, exhaustion written across her face as she unlocked the apartment door. Inside, Sarah sat on the couch, waiting. Emma asked sharply, "What are you doing here?" Sarah shifted uncomfortably, replying, "I needed to talk." Emma's heart quickened, sensing unease. Sarah avoided her gaze, fidgeting with her hands. Emma pressed, "What's going on?" Sarah finally confessed, "I've been talking to Mark. He said he needed help." The words sliced through Emma like glass, betrayal settling heavy in her chest. Emma's voice broke, "You went behind my back?" The silence between them was thicker than any argument. Emma's world tilted again, trust unraveling at its seams. Emma sat down across from Sarah, fury mixing with despair. "How could you?" she asked, her voice trembling. Sarah replied, "I thought he deserved to be heard. He's still Lily's father." Emma slammed her hand against the table, her body shaking. "He doesn't care about Lily, he cares about control." Sarah looked away, guilt flooding her features. The weight of fractured friendship pressed down on Emma, heavier than she imagined. Every sacrifice she'd made was already under siege, and now betrayal came from someone she trusted most. Her eyes stung with tears, but she refused to cry in front of Sarah. Instead, she whispered, "Get out." Later that night, Emma collapsed onto her bed, staring at the ceiling. Lily stirred softly in the next room, unaware of the storm her mother faced. Emma whispered to herself, "I can't let him destroy us." Her thoughts circled endlessly. Sarah's betrayal, Mark's threats, the looming custody battle. She felt her strength thinning, like fabric fraying under strain. Memories of the past flooded back, nights when she begged Mark to stay, when she believed his promises. Now those memories twisted into daggers, cutting at her resolve. The betrayal wasn't just about Sarah or Mark. It was the cruel reminder that trust came with a cost she could no longer afford. The next morning, Emma sat in a lawyer's office, papers spread across the desk. Across from her, the lawyer explained, Mark has filed for custody. We need to prepare. Emma's breath hitched, her chest tightening. He can't take her, she whispered, hands trembling. The lawyer, calm but firm, continued, We'll fight, but you must be ready. He'll use everything against you. Emma nodded, though fear rattled her bones. The sterile office felt suffocating, every word amplifying the reality she dreaded. This wasn't just a fight for custody. It was a fight for her child's very future. For Emma, losing wasn't an option, even if it meant tearing herself apart to win. That evening, Emma picked Lily up from aftercare, her forced smile hiding the storm raging inside. Lily skipped beside her, asking innocently, Mommy, can we have ice cream tonight? Emma nodded, masking her dread. As they walked, her phone buzzed again. A message from Mark. See you in court. Emma's grip on Lily's hand tightened, determination hardening beneath the fear. The city lights flickered on around them, indifferent to her struggle. She glanced at her daughter's carefree smile and knew the cost of failure was unthinkable. Every step home was another vow. She would fight with everything she had, even if it broke her. Emma sat at the kitchen table, staring at an old photograph she had unearthed from a drawer. Her hands trembled as memories came rushing back. It was of her and Mark during happier days, before betrayal had poisoned their lives. She whispered, How did it come to this? The picture mocked her with the illusion of stability that had never truly existed. She thought of all the times she ignored red flags, believing love was enough to change him. Lily entered, rubbing her sleepy eyes, asking, Who's that, Mommy? Emma quickly slid the photo away, replying, Just someone from the past. Inside, she knew her past was no longer buried. It was clawing its way into her present. The next day, Emma received a thick envelope in the mail. Her fingers shook as she tore it open to find court documents with bold words, Petition for custody. Attached was evidence Mark had gathered, painting her as unstable and unfit. Her throat tightened as she scanned the lies, claims of neglect, financial irresponsibility, emotional instability. She muttered, This isn't true. The walls seemed to close in, the words blurring on the page. Every part of her past he had twisted against her, weaponized to destroy the very life she fought to protect. Tears welled, but anger quickly followed. She slammed the envelope shut and whispered, I won't let him take her. Later that afternoon, Emma sat across from Sarah in a cafe, the betrayal still fresh between them. He's using everything against me, Emma said, her voice raw. Sarah's eyes softened with guilt, murmuring, I didn't know he'd go this far. Emma's jaw clenched as she stirred her untouched coffee. You gave him ammunition, she snapped, her voice trembling. Sarah reached across the table, but Emma pulled away, saying coldly, I can't trust you anymore. The cafe buzzed with life around them, but for Emma, the world had narrowed to the sting of betrayal, and the ache of a friendship broken beyond repair. That night, Emma stood in front of the mirror, unable to look away from her reflection. The face staring back at her was weary, haunted by choices she couldn't undo. She thought of the years spent trying to fix Mark, the years spent hiding her own pain, and the years sacrificing everything for Lily. I can't keep running from who I was, she whispered. The past had left scars, but they were also proof of survival. In her reflection, she saw both fear and fire, a reminder of what was at stake. She clenched her fists, breathing deeply. If Mark wanted to drag her past into the light, then she would face it head-on. The following day, Emma met her lawyer again, this time ready to fight. She placed the stack of documents on his desk, her voice steady but resolute. He's twisting everything, but I won't let him win. The lawyer nodded, replying, We'll gather evidence, witnesses, anything to prove you're the stable parent. Emma exhaled slowly, feeling both dread and relief. She wasn't alone in this battle, but the road ahead would be brutal. She thought of Lily's smile, her laughter, her innocence. That was her anchor, her reason to endure. She leaned forward, whispering, For her, I'll face whatever comes. In that moment, resolve replaced fear. Emma sat on a park bench watching Lily play, her heart heavy with fear about the custody case. A voice called softly, Emma? She turned, startled to see a familiar face she hadn't seen in years. Her estranged brother, Daniel. He was older now, worn but steady. "I heard what's happening," he said, his eyes filled with both regret and resolve. Emma froze, torn between anger and longing. "Why now?" she asked sharply. Daniel replied, "Because you need help, and I should been there before." For years she had lived without him, convinced he was gone for good. Now he stood before her, an unexpected piece of her past, offering help when she needed it most. Emma's voice shook as she asked, "Why should I trust you now?" Daniel sat beside her, his hands clasped tightly. "Because I've watched from a distance, and I can't stay silent anymore." His admission stung, reopening old wounds. Emma looked away, her chest tight with the weight of abandonment. Lily laughed nearby, the sound like a fragile thread holding Emma together. "You left when I needed you most," she whispered. Daniel's voice cracked. "I made mistakes, but I won't walk away again." Emma studied his face, searching for sincerity. For the first time in years, she saw a flicker of the brother she once knew. That evening, Emma brought Daniel to her apartment. The moment was tense, the air heavy with unspoken history. Lily looked up curiously, asking, "Who's he, Mommy?" Emma hesitated before replying, "This is your uncle." Lily's eyes lit up, her innocence bridging the chasm between siblings. Daniel knelt down, smiling softly. "Hi, Lily. I'm Daniel." Emma watched them, torn between relief and fear, knowing this reunion carried risks. The apartment felt smaller with Daniel inside, the past colliding with the fragile present. For Emma, letting him in was both a risk and a gamble, but for Lily, it was an unexpected gift. Later that night, Emma and Daniel sat at the kitchen table, tension hanging between them. Daniel leaned forward saying, "Mark isn't just fighting for custody, he's using people against you." Emma frowned, realizing Sarah's betrayal wasn't an isolated blow. "How do you know?" she asked. Daniel's jaw tightened. "I've kept an eye on him. He's been reckless, and I have proof." Emma's heart raced, torn between suspicion and hope. If Daniel truly had evidence, it could change everything. Yet trusting him meant reopening old wounds. "If you're lying, I can't forgive you," Emma whispered. Daniel nodded solemnly. "Then I'll prove I'm not." The next morning, Emma awoke to find Daniel cooking breakfast, Lily giggling nearby. The simple scene felt foreign yet comforting. For a brief moment, the apartment was filled with warmth instead of dread. Daniel flipped pancakes, saying, "Well, face this together." Emma stood in the doorway, hesitant, her heart softening despite the fear still gnawing inside. Lily ran to hug her uncle, innocence shining brighter than the shadows. Emma realized that while the past was filled with fractures, the future could hold fragile hope. Trusting Daniel might not erase old wounds, but it could give her the strength she needed to fight for tomorrow. The courthouse loomed large as Emma approached, Lily's hand held tightly in hers. Her heart pounded, fear and determination colliding in every step. Inside, the sterile hall smelled of cold marble and stale air. Daniel walked beside her, his presence steady, whispering, "You're not alone." Emma forced a nod, though her nerves trembled. She glanced at Lily, who looked small and uncertain, clutching her backpack. "It's just a meeting, baby," Emma reassured her, though her voice cracked. The truth was harsher. This was a war. Each step closer to the courtroom felt like walking into fire, but Emma's resolve was unshakable. Inside the courtroom, Emma sat across from Mark, their eyes locking in silent combat. Mark smirked, his lawyer whispering in his ear. Emma clenched her fists under the table, steadying her breath. The judge entered, commanding silence. Papers rustled, voices hushed. Emma's lawyer leaned in, murmuring, "Stay calm. Answer only what's asked." Her throat tightened, but she nodded. Across the room, Mark looked composed, but Emma knew his calm was a mask. He wanted control, not custody. The gavel struck, and the battle began. Every word spoken here would decide Lily's fate, and Emma vowed she would not let her daughter be taken. The questioning began. Mark's lawyer painted Emma as unstable, citing financial struggles and emotional stress. Each word struck like a blade. Emma bit her lip, holding back tears, until her lawyer rose. Carter has worked tirelessly to provide for her daughter, he argued, voice firm. Emma inhaled slowly, glancing at Lily, who sat quietly near Daniel. Her daughter's presence gave her strength. She answered calmly when asked, her voice steady despite the storm within. I have sacrificed everything for my child, she said, her gaze locked on the judge. The truth was simple, undeniable, and it carried the weight of her entire life. The tension broke when Daniel produced documents, evidence of Mark's reckless behavior, late-night arrests, unpaid debts, and violent outbursts. Mark's face darkened, his composure cracking. "These are lies," he shouted, rising from his seat. The judge slammed the gavel, demanding order. Emma's chest swelled with both relief and fear. She hadn't expected Daniel to risk everything by exposing secrets he had kept hidden. Mark's lawyer scrambled, papers fluttering, the defense unraveling. Emma glanced at Lily, who watched wide-eyed, confused but safe. For the first time, Emma saw hope, fragile but burning brightly. The battle wasn't over, but the tide had shifted. As the day closed, Emma stepped outside the courthouse, exhaustion etched across her face. The sky had darkened, storm clouds rolling overhead. Lily tugged at her hand, whispering, "Did we win?" Emma knelt, brushing Lily's cheek softly. "Not yet, baby, but we're closer." Daniel stood nearby, arms folded, watching over them. The battle wasn't finished. More hearings, more fights awaited, but for the first time, Emma felt the ground tilt in her favor. She looked at her brother, then at her daughter, and whispered to herself, "I won't break. Not now." The storm above mirrored the one inside her, violent but survivable. The final hearing began, the courtroom heavy with anticipation. Emma sat rigid, hands clenched on the table. Mark's lawyer spoke first, his voice cold and sharp, listing accusations twisted from fragments of her past. Emma's stomach turned, but she kept her eyes on the judge. Then her lawyer stood, presenting Daniel's evidence. Police reports, financial records, proof of Mark's instability. Mark erupted, shouting, "This is a setup." The judge silenced him with a gavel strike. Emma inhaled deeply, summoning courage. "I am not perfect," she said firmly, "but I've fought for my child every single day." Her voice echoed with conviction, each word a weapon of truth. As testimony ended, Emma felt the courtroom's weight pressing down on her shoulders. Lily sat quietly near Daniel, innocence shielding her from the storm of words. Emma's lawyer delivered closing arguments, his voice steady. She has sacrificed, endured, and proven her devotion. No amount of manipulation can erase her love or stability. Mark glared, fists clenched, his mask of control slipping. Emma's chest tightened as she looked at Lily, whispering silently, "This is for you." The judge's expression revealed nothing, but the air pulsed with tension. In that moment, Emma realized winning was not just about law, but about surviving her past and reclaiming her future. The judge spoke, his voice firm and steady. "Custody will remain with the mother. Evidence has shown her to be the stable parent." Emma's breath caught, her body trembling with relief. Lily leapt into her arms, whispering, "We did it, Mommy." Emma held her tight, tears falling freely. Mark slammed his fist against the table, fury burning in his eyes, but he could not undo the verdict. Daniel placed a reassuring hand on Emma's shoulder, whispering, "You fought and won." The sound of the gavel marked the end of battle, but Emma knew healing would take longer. Still, victory belonged to love. Outside the courthouse, Emma breathed the cool evening air, her arms wrapped around Lily. Reporters shouted questions, cameras flashed, but Daniel shielded them as they hurried away. Emma whispered, "It's over now," though she knew scars remained. Lily's small voice replied, "We're safe, Mommy." Those words wrapped Emma in fragile peace. For years she had lived in fear, shadowed by betrayal and abandonment. Now, though the road ahead was uncertain, freedom felt within reach. She glanced at Daniel, their fractured bond slowly mending. "Thank you," she said softly. The storm had broken, leaving behind silence, wounds, and the first spark of hope. That night, the apartment was quiet, filled only with Lily's soft breathing from her room. Emma stood at the window, staring out at the glowing city. She placed a hand on Lily's door, whispering, "We will be okay." She walked inside, sitting beside her daughter's bed. Lily stirred, smiling in her sleep. Emma smiled too, for the first time without pretense. The years of fear, betrayal, and sacrifice had brought her here, not to perfection, but to survival. She leaned close, whispering, "We are stronger now, and will never stop fighting." In that quiet moment, Emma found her redemption, her peace, and her future.